So finally, the wait is over. The 16th Finance Commission, chaired by Arvind Panagriya, has submitted its report for the award period 2026 to 2031. Now, the recommendations, which were tabled in the Parliament alongside Union Budget 2026-27, signals a significant shift from entitle-based transfers to compliance-driven fiscal federalism. Now, the Finance Commission is a constitutional body under Article 280 of our Indian Constitution.
Finance Commission lays bare a pitched battle between states and the central government on sharing tax revenue. States sought higher share in central taxes and call for the inclusion of cess and surcharges in the divisible pool. Central government rejected the demands and went on to say even the current devolution is not fiscally sustainable.
That strengthens India's fiscal federalism. It is constituted every 5 years and it recommends tax devolution, grants in aid and fiscal reforms to address vertical and horizontal imbalances between the union and the states in our country. Now, the 16th Finance Commission, chaired by Shri Arvind Panagriya, covers the period of 2026-27 to 2030-31, and it represents a clear shift towards performance, transparency and long-term fiscal sustainability. Now, the 16th Finance Commission recommendations spans to tax devolution, spans to local body financing, disaster management, fiscal consolidation, power sector reforms, subsidy rationalization and public sector enterprises restructuring. These measures, they aim to promote interstate equity in our country, strengthen fiscal discipline in our country and enhance local governance and align public finances with India's developmental priorities. So today, our topic of discussion would be the 16th Finance Commission recommendations in our country. Hello, my name is Preetpal Singh and you're watching Perspective. Now, as I've already told you, that Finance Commission is a constitutional commission under Article 280 that ensures fiscal federalism in India. Let us understand about its constitution. The Finance Commission is constituted by the President of India every 5 years. It is having one chairman and 4 members who are having expertise in the field of finance, economics or public administration. Now, let us understand the core functions of Finance Commission. The Finance Commission recommends the sharing of net tax proceeds between the union and the state governments. Also, taxes which are covered are income tax, GST and other central taxes as examined by the Finance Commission. Also, it facilitates interstate distribution as well. The Finance Commission decides the criteria for distribution amongst the states as well, which we call as horizontal devolution. Also, it talks about grants in aid as well, and which is why the Finance Commission recommends grants to revenue deficient states under Article 275 of our Constitution. And not just this, it covers local bodies as well. The Finance Commission suggests measures to strengthen the finances of panchayats and municipalities. Fiscal discipline is also favored by the Finance Commission because it advises on expenditure control, debt and fiscal reforms. But not just this, it is having an advisory role as well, and which is why the Commission examines financial matters which are referred by the President to the Commission, and which is why it is very, very significant. And the Finance Commission is the key commission ensuring equitable resource distribution and cooperative federalism in our country. Now, as you know, the chairman of the 16th Finance Commission was Shri Arvind Panagriya, who is the former vice chairman of Niti Aayog. Also, the other members are Shri Ajay Narayan Jha, who is the former member of the 15th Finance Commission and former secretary of expenditure. He's a full-time member. Then there's Srimati Annie George Matthew, who is former special secretary of expenditure, again a full-time member. Then there is Dr. Niranjan Rajadhaksha, who is the executive director of Ardha Global, again a full-time member. And there is Dr. Soumya Kanti Ghosh, who is the Group Chief Economic Advisor of the State Bank of India, a part-time member. Now, the 16th Finance Commission recommendations are very crucial, important for us to know. The report of 16th Finance Commission was tabled in Parliament on 1st of February 2026. It covered the period of 5 years, as we already know. But now let us come directly to the main point, that is the key recommendation of the commissions. First of all, in relation to the share of states in the central taxes, the 16th Finance Commission has recommended a 41% share of the states in the divisible pool of central taxes, which is unchanged from the 15th Finance Commission. The divisible pool is calculated by excluding the cost of collection, cesses and surcharges from the gross tax revenue of the central government. And what is the criteria for devolution? Finance Commission uses a formula-based approach with assigned weight to specific criteria to distribute central taxes amongst the states. The table below will present the criteria and weightage which is adopted by the 16th Finance Commission for determining each state's shares. Now, the table in front of you, it presents the criteria and weightages adopted by the 16th Finance Commission for determining each state's shares. So we'll be talking about the criterias and the weightage assigned to that criteria while determining the state's shares in our country. See, first of all, the first very important criteria is the income distance. In 15th Finance Commission, it was assigned 45% weight, and in 16th Finance Commission, it is assigned 42.5% weight. Now, the second one is population. According to the 2011 census, 15% in 15th Finance Commission, 17.5% weightage in 16th Finance Commission. Again, in demographic performance, 12.5% in 15th Finance Commission, 10% in the 16th Finance Commission. Also, in relation to area as well, 15% weightage was given earlier, and now 10% weightage will be given to the area of that particular state. And the forest cover was given 10%, and again, it remains 10% weightage still in the 16th Finance Commission as well. Now, tax and fiscal efforts were also rewarded in the 15th Finance Commission, but no longer seen in the 16th Finance Commission. And contribution to the GDP. Again, earlier was not there, but now contribution to the GDP is again a key indicator and a key factor in determining the devolution between the states of the money. Now, when we talk about income distance, the 16th Finance Commission defines income distance as the gap between the state's per capita GSDP, that is gross state domestic product, and the average per capita GSDP of the top three large high-income states in our country. Per capita GSDP is calculated as an average for 2018-19 to 23-24, excluding the pandemic year 2020-21. States with the lower per capita GSDP, they will receive a higher share under this criterion. Ensuring equity in interstate fiscal transfers, the demographic performance is also one of the way, which means the 15th Finance Commission introduced the demographic performance parameter to reward states for population control using the total fertility rate as the basis. That is TFR as the basis. The 16th Finance Commission has redefined the criteria to measure population growth between 1971 and 2011. See, even the states with the lower population growth during this period receive a higher share of reinforcing incentives for long-term demographic management. Now, coming to forest, the 16th Finance Commission assigned weightage to both state shares in total forest area and its contribution to the increase in forest cover 2015 to 2023. It also includes open forest while calculating the total forest area. 15th Finance Commission considered only dense and moderately dense forest and assessed states solely on their share in the overall forest area. But not just this, one more criteria which was used was contribution to the GDP. See, the 16th Finance Commission has introduced contribution to the national GDP as a new parameter. See, this replaces the tax and fiscal efforts criterion of the 15th Finance Commission, which rewarded higher tax collection efficiency. See, a state's contribution to GDP is computed as a square root of GSDP divided by the sum of the square roots of GSDP of all states. GSDP values are not taken as the average normal GSDP. For 2018-19 to 2023-2024, excluding the pandemic year 2020-21. Also, with respect to grants and aid, the 16th Finance Commission has recommended granting total of 9.47 lakh crores to the next 5 years. And these grants are limited to urban and rural local bodies and disaster management. The 16th Finance Commission has discontinued the following grants provided by the 15th Finance Commission. It has discontinued revenue deficit grants, sector-specific grants, state-specific grants, grant for local bodies, etc. And the same Finance Commission has recommended around 4.4 lakh crores for rural local bodies and 3.6 lakh crores for urban local bodies over the 5 years. See, first of all, let us see the conditions for all local body grants. Grants are released upon fulfillment of constitution of local bodies as per the constitution. Public disclosure of provisional and audited accounts should be there. Timely constitution of the State Finance Commission grants should be there. Components of the basic grants include 50% united, 50% tied to the sanitation and solid waste management, and or water management special infrastructure grant, urban. For comprehensive wastewater management system applicable to cities with a population of 10 to 40 lakhs according to Census 2011, around 56,100 crore recommendations over 5 years. See, when we talk about the fiscal roadmap, the 16th Finance Commission has recommended reducing the central's fiscal deficit to 3.5% of the GDP by 2030-31. The 16th Finance Commission has fixed the annual fiscal deficit ceiling for states at 3% of the GSDP. The 16th Finance Commission has called for the strict discontinuation of an off-budget borrowings by the states and their full inclusion in the states' budgets. Now, it is also recommended expanding the definition of fiscal deficit and public debt to uniformly cover all the budget borrowings in our country. The combined debt of center and state is projected to decline from 77.3% of the GDP in 26-27 to 73.1% of the GDP by 2030-31. And with respect to subsidy expenditure, the 16th Finance Commission recommended that states review and rationalize steady expenditure to improve efficiency. It observed that unconditional cash transfer schemes often they have large untargeted beneficiary bases. The commission advised clear exclusion criteria and a rigorous review mechanism to ensure better targeting. It also recommended ending subsidy financing, basically through an off-budget borrowings. See, the commission flagged the lack of standardization in how the subsidies and transfers are defined and classified and accounted for across different states. If noted frequent misclarification or misclassification of subsidies as existence, grants or other expenditure. To address this, it recommended a book framework for accounting. Now, to address this, it recommended a uniform framework for accounting and transparent disclosure of subsidies and transfers. And the question is, because of so many changes, what is going to be the impact on the southern states and the northern states? See, under the revised devolution formula of the 16th Finance Commission, all the 5 southern states have witnessed an increase in their share of tax devolution. Andhra Pradesh shares increased from 4.047% to 4.217%. Karnataka, again, share increased from 3.647% to 4.131%. See, for the Kerala, the share increased from 1.925% to 2.382%. For Tamil Nadu, the share also marginally increased from 4.079% to 4.097%. Also, not just this, for Telangana, the share increased from 2.102% to 2.174%. So, a contrasting trend in the large northern states like Uttar Pradesh, the shares declined from 17.9% to 17.6%. In Bihar, the share declined from 10.05% to 9.94%. See, but again, the moot point is that there are some states who gained in respect to voting, and there are some cases who are losing some of the followers. It actually doesn't matter. See, the 16th Finance Commission report, it suggests a very strong framework, a very effective framework for fiscal discipline, for transparency, for environment sustainability, and structural reforms while maintaining equity in a resource distribution in our country. It also seeks to strengthen the cooperative fiscal federalism framework in our country and ensure long-term fiscal sustainability and stability in our country, and which is why it is incentivizing governance and economic performance of the country. Also, there is a civil services means question with respect to this particular topic, and the question is that how is the Finance Commission of India constituted, and what do you know about the terms of reference of the recently constituted Finance Commission, which in our case is the 16th Finance Commission. It is basically 2018 mains UPSC question. So the Finance Commission has done its task. Now the real task is with the state and with the center. Are they able to manage fiscal federalism properly in our country? And are they able to work smoothly, more effectively for the betterment of the entire nation at once? That needs to be seen. But I hope the recommendations are very clear to you. You are able to follow it through. All the very best. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.